When we think about health and longevity, most people immediately picture blood tests, glucose numbers, or cholesterol panels. And yes, those are important. But here's the fascinating truth. Your muscle strength, something you can feel every day, may actually be a more powerful predictor of how long and how well you live than any glucose test ever could. Why? Because muscle isn't just about moving weights at the gym. Muscle is the largest site for glucose disposal in your body. It's your metabolic engine, your anti-aging shield, and your built-in defense against chronic disease. Weak muscles don't just mean less strength. They mean less resilience, less metabolic health, and ultimately less time. So today, let's challenge the conventional wisdom. Instead of obsessing only over numbers on a lab sheet, let's talk about the strength in your body, the vitality in your muscles, and how building and maintaining that strength could be the single most important investment in your longevity. Muscle is often seen simply as a tool for movement or strength, but the truth is far deeper and far more profound. Muscle is the body's largest glucose sink, meaning it is the primary place where glucose is absorbed, stored, and used. This single fact makes muscle not just important for performance, but central to your metabolic health and long-term vitality. When you eat carbohydrates, your blood glucose levels rise, and insulin is released to shuttle that glucose into your cells. But here's the critical part. The vast majority of that glucose is supposed to go into your muscles. If your muscle mass is low or your muscles are weak, there is less room for that glucose to go. The result is that glucose lingers in the bloodstream longer than it should, creating the very conditions that drive insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and accelerated aging. Strong muscles, on the other hand, act like sponges. They pull glucose out of the bloodstream efficiently, lowering blood sugar naturally and without relying heavily on insulin. This not only keeps glucose levels in check, but also preserves insulin sensitivity, which is the foundation of metabolic health. Insulin resistance has been linked to nearly every chronic disease you can name: heart disease, dementia, fatty liver disease, cancer, and of course diabetes. By simply maintaining and strengthening your muscles, you are directly defending yourself against these conditions because you are keeping your body's glucose disposal system wide open and highly functional. This is why muscle strength is more than just a number on a weight rack. It's a biomarker of health. Studies consistently show that grip strength, a simple test of muscle strength, predicts mortality better than blood glucose levels or even blood pressure. That means a person's ability to generate strength with their muscles is telling us more about their long-term survival than the very numbers we obsess over in lab tests. It's not that glucose doesn't matter, but rather that muscle is the context in which glucose matters most. If your muscles are healthy, glucose has a safe home. If they're not, glucose becomes toxic. Consider what happens as people age. Muscle naturally declines if it isn't used, a process called sarcopenia. As muscle fades, so does metabolic health. Older adults with low muscle mass are far more likely to suffer from insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and frailty. They lose independence faster, recover from illness slower, and are more vulnerable to falls and fractures. But the opposite is also true. Those who actively preserve and build muscle as they age don't just maintain strength, they maintain glucose control, resilience, and vitality. Their bodies process food more effectively, their energy levels stay higher, and their risk of chronic disease drops significantly. Think of muscle as a living, dynamic organ, because that is exactly what it is. It secretes proteins called myokines that communicate with the brain, the immune system, and even fat tissue, signaling balance and repair. It's not just a passive tissue, it's a metabolic powerhouse that keeps your whole body running smoothly. When muscles are challenged through resistance training, they grow stronger, but they also improve their ability to take up glucose and store it safely. This is why exercise, particularly strength training, is often more effective at improving insulin sensitivity than medication. You're not just masking the symptom, you're rebuilding the system. The take-home message is simple but powerful. If you want better metabolic health, if you want to lower your risk of chronic disease, if you want to extend not just your lifespan but your health span, focus on your muscles. They are your body's largest glucose sink, and they hold the key to how well you age. Every time you choose to move, lift, or train, you're not just getting stronger, you're literally building your body's defense system against the metabolic chaos that leads to disease. Muscle strength is not vanity, it is vitality, and it is the single most underappreciated predictor of long-term health. Grip strength may seem like a simple measure, almost too trivial to be taken seriously in discussions about health and longevity. After all, what could the firmness of your handshake or the strength in your hands possibly reveal about your future health? Yet the science is clear and surprisingly consistent. Grip strength predicts mortality more reliably than blood glucose levels. This fact may sound shocking because we are conditioned to believe that blood tests, especially glucose measurements, are the gold standard for assessing risk of disease and death. While glucose is important, grip strength tells us something much more comprehensive. It is not just a reflection of hand power, it is a window into the overall strength, resilience, and health of the entire body. Why is grip strength so telling? Muscles throughout the body are interconnected systems that mirror one another's vitality. The strength of your grip is closely tied to the strength of your forearm, your upper body, and even your core. When grip strength declines, it usually signals a more widespread loss of muscle strength and mass. And since muscle is deeply tied to metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and resilience against stress and injury, weak grip strength becomes an early warning sign of deeper health challenges. It is a biomarker of frailty, and frailty is one of the most powerful predictors of mortality. Unlike blood glucose, which can fluctuate daily depending on what you eat or when you last exercised, grip strength reflects long-term muscle health. A glucose test might show a snapshot, but it can miss the bigger picture. Someone might have normal glucose levels but still be losing muscle at an alarming rate, setting themselves up for insulin resistance, metabolic decline, and increased risk of disease. Conversely, someone with strong grip strength is likely to have healthier, with more functional muscle mass that continues to protect them even if their glucose levels aren't perfect. Grip strength reflects not just what's happening in your bloodstream, but what's happening throughout your body. Research has repeatedly confirmed the link between grip strength and survival. Large studies across different populations and age groups show that weaker grip strength is associated with higher risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and all-cause mortality. In fact, grip strength often predicts who will live longer more reliably than traditional risk factors like blood pressure or cholesterol. This doesn't mean glucose or blood pressure don't matter, but it does mean that muscle strength captures something much deeper: your body's ability to function, repair, and withstand the wear and tear of life. Think about aging for a moment. As people get older, one of the most devastating processes is sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass and strength. This isn't just about being weaker, it's about losing independence, stability, and metabolic resilience. Older adults with poor grip strength are more likely to suffer falls, recover slowly from illness, and lose the ability to care for themselves. They're also more prone to insulin resistance and chronic disease. Grip strength becomes a marker not only of strength but of biological age. A strong grip at 60 or 70 tells us the body is still resilient, while a weak grip signals vulnerability long before lab results might reveal it. What makes grip strength even more fascinating is how easily it can be measured. It doesn't require expensive equipment or invasive procedures. A simple hand dynamometer can give a quick snapshot of a person's health trajectory, often with greater predictive power than blood tests. This is empowering because it shows that health is not hidden in complex numbers or tests that only doctors can interpret. It's something you can feel, measure, and improve directly through your own effort. Most importantly, grip strength can be improved. Unlike genetic factors or certain biomarkers, muscle strength responds to training. Resistance exercise, particularly movements that challenge the hands and forearms, builds grip strength while also strengthening the rest of the body. This improvement in strength translates directly into better metabolic health, better glucose control, and better resilience against disease. In other words, working on your grip strength is not just about having a firmer handshake, it's about lowering your risk of death from almost every major cause. The message is clear. While we should not ignore blood glucose levels, we must recognize that muscle strength, and grip strength in particular, tells us something even more fundamental about our health. It reveals the integrity of our muscles, the state of our metabolism, and the resilience of our body against the challenges of aging and disease. The stronger your grip, the stronger your defense against mortality. And unlike glucose, which you can only manage indirectly through diet and lifestyle, grip strength is something you can train, build, and measure for yourself. It's not just a test of strength, it's a test of life itself. Muscle mass is more than a measure of size or physical appearance. It is one of the most powerful indicators of how sensitive your body is to insulin and, ultimately, how long and well you will live. Insulin sensitivity is the ability of your cells to respond efficiently to insulin's signal to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. When insulin sensitivity is high, glucose is cleared quickly and used for energy or stored safely. When it is low, glucose lingers in the blood, insulin levels rise, and the slow march toward insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and chronic disease begins. Muscle is central to this process because it is the largest site in the body for glucose uptake. The more muscle mass you have, the more places glucose has to go, and the more efficiently your body can handle the constant fluctuations in blood sugar. This is why muscle mass is directly linked to insulin sensitivity. A body with abundant, healthy muscle tissue simply processes nutrients better. Every time you eat a carbohydrate, that glucose has a safe and efficient storage site in muscle. Without enough muscle, glucose has fewer places to go, spilling over into fat storage and elevating blood sugar. Over time, this cycle leads to chronically high insulin levels, a condition that quietly damages the body's systems and accelerates aging. But strong, well-maintained muscle acts as a protective buffer, lowering the demand on insulin and maintaining metabolic balance. The connection between muscle and longevity flows directly from this metabolic advantage. People with greater muscle mass tend to live longer, not only because they are metabolically healthier, but also because muscle confers resilience in almost every dimension of health. When muscle mass is high, recovery from illness is faster, the immune system functions more effectively, and the risk of frailty is dramatically reduced. Longevity is not simply about surviving, it is about maintaining vitality and independence as the years pass. Muscle gives you the capacity to keep moving, to withstand the stresses of aging, and to resist the diseases that cut life short. Scientific studies support this link. Research shows that low muscle mass is associated with higher rates of insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and premature death. On the other hand, people with more muscle mass, even when accounting for body weight or body fat, show lower rates of these diseases and a higher likelihood of living longer. It is not just about being lean, it is about being muscular. Fat loss is helpful, but without sufficient muscle, metabolic health cannot be optimized. Muscle is the metabolic currency that buys you both better health and a longer life. Another way muscle mass protects longevity is through its role in energy expenditure. Muscle is a metabolically active tissue, meaning it burns calories even at rest. The more muscle you carry, the higher your resting metabolic rate, and the more efficiently your body manages energy. This prevents excess fat accumulation and helps maintain stable blood glucose levels. Over a lifetime, this means fewer metabolic swings, less oxidative stress, and a body that operates more smoothly, all of which contribute to slowing the aging process. As people age, muscle naturally declines if it is not deliberately preserved through resistance training and proper nutrition. This decline in muscle mass, known as sarcopenia, is a major driver of insulin resistance and frailty in older adults. Sarcopenia is not just about losing strength. It is about losing your body's best tool for maintaining insulin sensitivity and resisting disease. This is why older individuals with higher muscle mass live longer and remain healthier. They are insulated against the metabolic decline that robs so many people of quality of life. The beauty of this connection is that it is not fixed. Muscle mass is not just something you are born with, it is something you can build and maintain throughout life. Resistance training, weight-bearing exercise, and adequate protein intake all stimulate muscle growth and maintenance. Unlike many biomarkers of aging, muscle mass is under your direct control. By choosing to train your muscles, you are directly choosing to improve your insulin sensitivity and extend your longevity. The lesson is clear. Muscle is not just about how you look in the mirror. It is about how well your body processes the very nutrients that keep you alive. It is about maintaining a steady metabolic rhythm that protects against disease. And it is about ensuring that the years you add to your life are years filled with strength, independence, and vitality. Muscle mass is directly linked to insulin sensitivity and longevity because it is the foundation of metabolic health and the shield against the decline of aging. Investing in your muscle is investing in your future. Weak muscles are not just a sign of reduced physical capacity, they are a warning sign of accelerated aging, higher disease risk, and the onset of frailty. The human body is designed to move, lift, and resist. When muscles weaken, whether through inactivity, poor nutrition, or the natural decline that comes with age, it sets off a cascade of negative effects that impact far more than strength alone. Weak muscles mean less glucose uptake, less stability, slower recovery, and greater vulnerability to nearly every chronic disease. This is why muscle weakness is one of the most telling markers of declining health and one of the strongest predictors of premature mortality. Aging itself is inevitable, but the rate at which we age is not fixed. Weak muscles accelerate the process because they reduce the body's resilience. Muscle is a reservoir of amino acids that the body can draw upon during times of stress, illness, or injury. When muscle mass is low and strength is weak, the body lacks this reserve, making recovery from surgery, infection, or even a simple fall much more difficult. In older adults especially, weak muscles often mean the difference between bouncing back and never regaining independence. This vulnerability makes muscle weakness a direct driver of frailty, the condition where minor stressors lead to major health declines. The connection to disease risk is equally clear. Weak muscles reflect lower muscle mass, and lower muscle mass is directly linked to insulin resistance. With less muscle tissue available to absorb glucose, blood sugar stays elevated longer, forcing the pancreas to produce more insulin. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and the inflammatory environment that fuels heart disease, fatty liver disease, dementia, and cancer. Weak muscles do not just limit strength in the gym or at home, they open the door to metabolic dysfunction that accelerates disease throughout the body. Frailty, one of the most feared consequences of aging, is defined not only by weakness but by the loss of resilience to everyday stressors. Someone with weak muscles is more likely to fall, more likely to fracture a bone, and more likely to suffer severe complications from what would otherwise be a minor illness. Once frailty sets in, independence begins to slip away, and quality of life declines sharply. This is why weak muscles are not just a personal inconvenience, but a public health issue. Frail individuals require more medical care, longer hospital stays, and more support for daily living. Preventing weakness is not just about personal strength, it is about preserving dignity, independence, and vitality in the later years of life. What makes this issue especially important is how preventable it is. Muscle weakness is not an inevitable part of aging, it is the result of disuse. The body responds to the demands placed upon it. If muscles are challenged through resistance training, they adapt and grow stronger, even in old age. Numerous studies show that older adults, including those in their 70s and 80s, can build significant strength and muscle mass through consistent training. This directly reduces frailty, lowers disease risk, and slows the aging process. Weakness is not a destiny. It is a choice to neglect the very tissue that sustains health. Weak muscles also accelerate aging at the cellular level. Muscle tissue produces signaling molecules called myokines when it contracts, and these molecules communicate with the brain, the immune system, and other organs. They regulate inflammation, improve mood, and enhance repair processes. Without regular contraction and stimulation from exercise, this signaling declines, and then the body loses one of its most powerful anti-aging tools. Strong, active muscles keep the entire body younger at the cellular level, while weak muscles allow inflammation and degeneration to take hold. When viewed through this lens, weakness is not merely a lack of strength, it is a predictor of decline. A weak body struggles with movement, but more importantly, it struggles with health. The science is consistent: stronger individuals live longer, suffer fewer chronic diseases, and maintain independence later into life. Weak individuals age faster, develop disease earlier, and experience frailty more severely. The good news is that muscle weakness is one of the most modifiable risk factors we face. By choosing to strengthen muscles, you are choosing to slow aging, reduce disease risk, and avoid frailty. Each rep, each lift, each challenge to your muscles is an investment in resilience. Weak muscles accelerate decline, but strong muscles preserve vitality. In the end, strength is not just about what your body can do, it is about how long and how well your body will last. Building strength is a more powerful anti-aging therapy than chasing lab numbers, yet most of the health world remains fixated on test results. People obsess over blood glucose, cholesterol, triglycerides, and even genetic markers, but those numbers only provide snapshots. They tell us what is happening in the body at a given moment, but fail to capture the underlying machinery that determines how well the body will age. That machinery is your muscle. Building and maintaining strength through muscle is not just about performance. It is a therapy, an intervention more effective than any drug or test because it works at the root of aging itself. Lab numbers can be useful, but they can also be misleading. A person may have normal glucose levels today, yet their muscle mass is shrinking and their insulin sensitivity is silently declining. Another person may have cholesterol within a safe range, but their physical strength is dwindling, leaving them vulnerable to frailty and disease. The reality is that good numbers on paper do not guarantee resilience in real life. What truly protects you against aging is not the report your doctor hands you, but the strength you carry in your body. Strength training engages every system that counters aging. When you build muscle, you improve insulin sensitivity, ensuring that glucose is stored and used efficiently. This protects against type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, heart disease, and dementia. At the same time, contracting muscles release powerful molecules called myokines that lower inflammation, enhance brain function, and promote tissue repair throughout the body. No blood test can capture the cumulative effect of these signals, but they are central to slowing the aging process. Strength is therapy at the cellular level, directly altering the trajectory of health. Beyond the metabolic benefits, strength training preserves independence and mobility, two of the greatest determinants of quality of life as we age. A strong person can carry their own groceries, climb stairs, recover quickly from illness, and maintain balance to prevent falls. A weak person, even with perfect lab results, may find themselves unable to perform these daily tasks. Frailty comes not from numbers on a chart, but from the gradual erosion of strength. By focusing on building strength, you extend not only your lifespan, but also your health span, the years in which you remain active, capable, and vibrant. With what makes strength such a powerful therapy is its adaptability. Medications often address a single symptom or pathway, but building muscle influences nearly every system in the body. Stronger muscles support better bone density, reducing fracture risk. They enhance cardiovascular health by improving circulation and lowering blood pressure. They support mental health by reducing stress and boosting mood, regulating neurotransmitters. They even improve immune function, helping the body fight infections more effectively. There is no pill or lab test that can rival the breadth of benefits that come from increasing strength. Another key distinction is sustainability. Lab numbers can be manipulated in the short term with medication, but without changes to the underlying physiology, the risk remains. Building strength, however, creates lasting resilience. A person who consistently engages in resistance training carries those benefits forward, even if they occasionally slip in their diet or lifestyle. Muscle acts like a bank account of health, storing metabolic currency that pays dividends in the years to come. Each workout is a deposit that continues to yield benefits long after the session ends. Chasing lab numbers can also create a false sense of security. A clean bill of health may lead people to believe they are safe, even while their physical capacity declines. In contrast, strength cannot be faked. You either can lift the weight, climb the stairs, and grip firmly, or you cannot. It is a direct, honest measurement of your body's true health. This honesty makes strength a more reliable and meaningful marker of aging than lab results, which can mask underlying weaknesses. The lesson is not that lab numbers should be ignored, but that they should not be the focus. They are indicators, not guarantees. What you can actively build and control is strength, and that is the most powerful anti-aging therapy available. No prescription, no supplement, no cutting-edge test can match the ability of strong, functional muscle to slow the clock of aging and protect against disease. With building strength is an investment in resilience, vitality, and longevity, and it is available to everyone who is willing to put in the effort. In the end, health is not measured on a lab sheet, but in the life you are able to live. Building strength gives you the ability to do more, recover faster, and thrive longer. It is therapy for the body and the mind, a natural intervention that slows aging from the inside out. If you want to outlast disease, defy frailty, and extend not just your years but your capacity to enjoy them, stop chasing numbers and start building strength. Muscle health transforms lifespan into health span, living not just longer but stronger. Adding years to life without adding life to those years is not a victory. Too often, modern medicine focuses on extending survival while overlooking the quality of that survival. What truly matters is not only how long you live, but how well you live. This is where muscle health becomes the deciding factor. Strong, functional muscle turns added years into years of independence, vitality, and resilience. Weak, neglected muscle turns those same years into a struggle with frailty, disease, and dependence. The difference between lifespan and health span is written in the strength of your muscles. Muscle is the foundation of functional living. It allows you to move freely, climb stairs, lift objects, and perform daily tasks without assistance. As long as your muscles remain healthy, you maintain autonomy and control over your life. Without it, even simple actions become obstacles, and independence quickly slips away. Studies show that older adults with greater muscle mass and strength remain self-sufficient far longer than their peers with weaker muscles. They recover faster from illness, tolerate stress better, and maintain energy levels that keep them active and engaged in life. Health span is not about the absence of disease alone. It is about the presence of strength. The role of muscle in extending health span also comes down to metabolism. Healthy muscle tissue is the body's largest site for glucose uptake, and this metabolic power directly protects against insulin resistance, diabetes, and the cascade of chronic conditions tied to them. Strong muscles regulate blood sugar naturally, lower the burden on insulin, and reduce inflammation, all of which slow the aging process. A person with healthy muscle mass is less likely to develop cardiovascular disease, fatty liver, or dementia because their metabolic engine is firing on all cylinders. In this sense, muscle doesn't just extend the number of years you live, it ensures those years are spent in better health. Beyond the metabolic benefits, muscle health provides a safety net against the physical declines of aging. Falls and fractures are leading causes of disability and death in older adults, but strong muscles and stable joints dramatically lower these risks. With a fall that could devastate someone frail might barely register in someone strong. This resilience transforms health span because it means that aging no longer equals fragility. With healthy muscle, the body is equipped to handle accidents, surgeries, and illnesses without spiraling into decline. It is this resilience that often determines whether added years are lived in a hospital bed or on your own terms. Muscle also communicates with other organs through molecules called myokines, which are released when muscles contract. These signals influence brain health, immune function, and tissue repair. People with strong, active muscles often experience sharper thinking, better mood, and stronger immunity, all of which contribute to a richer, fuller life as they age. Weak muscles, in contrast, mean less of this beneficial signaling, leaving the body more vulnerable to inflammation, cognitive decline, and slow recovery. By keeping muscle healthy, you are not only supporting your physical body, but also protecting your mind and immune system. The decline of muscle with age, known as sarcopenia, is one of the greatest threats to health span. Sarcopenia accelerates frailty, increases disease risk, and shortens the years of independent living. Yet it is not inevitable. Resistance training, adequate protein intake, and consistent physical activity can preserve muscle mass well into old age. People in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s can build new muscle and regain lost strength. This means that health span is not fixed. It can be extended by the choices you make. Every rep, every lift, every active decision to challenge your muscles is an investment in stronger, healthier years. The vision of longevity should not be one of surviving longer in weakness, but one of thriving longer in strength. Muscle health is the bridge between lifespan and health span. It ensures that the years you add to your life are years you can enjoy, filled with the capacity to move, explore, and remain engaged. Without healthy muscle, added years often mean more medication, more doctor visits, and less independence. With healthy muscle, added years mean more freedom, more resilience, and more vitality. In the end, the question is not just how long do you want to live, but how do you want to live those years? Muscle health provides the answer. By preserving and building muscle, you transform longevity into quality. You turn extra time into better time. You live not just longer, but stronger, and that is the true measure of successful aging.